Evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Topic for this evening is criticism.
Oh, criticism, that's it. What is curiosity? For someone I'm reading.
That could be next week. There you go. Thank you. Remind me of that. I've been struggling recently.
Yeah, I've been thinking all things to do with curiosity since you mentioned it earlier.
That's what I thought it was for some reason. I read it wrong.
We'll do that.
Criticism's good.
No, curiosity works because that ties in with things that we've spoken about. You see, I struggle now because the group's been running for, it's 2 years now that this group's been going. And so every week for 2 years I've had to think of something to talk about.
To get us to help you.
And well, that's it. I open it
resource.
Open it up to you. I do sometimes invite and encourage a little bit
to sound
collaboration. But thank you. We'll do that next week. Curiosity, there we go. But yeah, this week it's criticism. But we'll do an exercise first, and then we'll see where we go. That's always the way, isn't it? Right. So we begin by just having a look around, seeing what we can see. Once we've had a look, we can close our eyes and bring our awareness to our bodies. Aware of our head, our neck, our shoulders. In becoming aware of the neck and shoulders, just allowing any tension that you may be holding there to just release. Continuing that release down through the arms to the hands, aware of the arms and hands and fingers. Returning the awareness to the back and the spine. Aware of your weight being pulled down by gravity down through the spine, down into your bottom in contact with the seat. Aware of your legs, all the way down to your feet, in contact with the floor. Aware of your clothes against your skin. And then aware of the movement of air. Just as it moves ever so faintly over your skin. Next, connect with your sense of smell. Take a few nice breaths through the nose and just be aware of smell in this moment. And then aware of taste. Finally begin to listen and just spend the next few moments allowing sound to happen, noticing if the mind wanders, and if it does, just ever so gently bringing it back to listening to sound. doesn't matter how many times the mind wanders. Just important to notice that it has. Bring it back to listening. Okay, good. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Okay, criticism. I believe there are 3 types of criticism, 3 instances of criticism. So there is the times when people are critical of us, when they criticise what we do or what we think, what we say. People being critical of us. There are times when we are critical of others, when we may criticise what other people do. That's the second one. And then the third one is when we criticise ourselves. Is there a place for criticism?
Yes.
To an extent. To an extent. I think it's important to make a differentiation between constructive criticism, constructive feedback, that is offered with good intention. When it's offered constructively, when it's sandwiched appropriately, because that's I think that's one of the elements to teaching, isn't it? It's about being constructive, being critical, and identifying areas where things can be improved. But it's sandwiching it in such a way. Okay, this is good. This, have a think about maybe how it could be improved. And this is great. You bookend it with praise, but the criticism, the element of criticism in the middle, is delivered with a positive aspect to it. It's okay, but think about where, how, when it could potentially be even better than it is. I think that's when there is, because we all have opportunities to learn, and we should all be open to learning. Learning doesn't stop, and you can only learn by questioning, can't you? By asking questions of yourself, or others asking questions of you, or you asking questions of other people, in order to learn and to experience, and to be open. I think when criticism is dangerous, or not dangerous, when criticism is negative and hurtful, is when it is just negative criticism for the sake of being negative. There was a thing that I read recently, and it was a piece that somebody had written, and it was about the propensity for people to correct grammar on things like Facebook. Somebody will post something on Facebook, and then others will be very quick to criticise how accurate their grammar is. And in particular, he was the person that had written this piece was referring to the use of that grammatical criticism to attack people with very damaging views. So particularly the racists. There are racist bigots all over the world, and they like to use the Facebook as their weapon of choice when it comes to sharing their views. And as a way of undermining these particular viewpoints, what some people will do is they'll pick up on their use of grammar. So rather than taking a stand against their view and saying, actually, I think that your viewpoint is wrong, they will use a critique of their grammar as a means of undermining them. And so this guy was talking about that practice, and he said, I fell foul of it because I would do that. I would go on, somebody would spout some racist rubbish, and I would then quite happily spend the next 45 minutes deconstructing their statement and pointing out all of the grammatical errors as a means of highlighting just how stupid they are. And he said, one time I went online, I saw a post where somebody was doing that, highlighting all the grammatical errors. And he said, it was late at night, it was the end of a long day, and so I just automatically liked it because that's what I do, and that's the way that we do it. We undermine their grammar. I just liked it. He said, and then the next day, I came back, and there was all these other comments, and he realised that the mistake that he had made was that what he'd actually done is the comment that he had liked had been made by a racist who was using the same technique to criticise somebody who was, I don't know what it is, a migrant. They come into this country, they posted something, and because they hated this person, and they'd done the same thing. So what the guy that had written the article had done is he'd kind of bought into this racist viewpoint because he'd done that, and then of course he was upset because that's not what he believes. So he thought about the whole process and thought about the stand that he took and realised that actually being critical in that way is just as bad. It's a form of bullying. What you're doing in that instance by being that critical is you're looking to undermine that other person. You're looking to make them feel inferior. You're looking to bully them. You're not doing anything to counter their viewpoint. You're not doing anything to form a cohesive argument that what they're saying is potentially damaging or negative or whatever it might be. You're just using this as a means of bullying them, attacking them, which makes you no better than they are. If they're expressing a bigoted racial view, you're not really any better than them just because you've highlighted their inaccurate use of apostrophes. You're just trying to make them look stupid, which had a massive effect on him and made him realise that he needed to approach things in a different way and made him think about how he offered criticism. And there's other aspects to it, in that when people do it to us, it's very easy to be hurt by somebody of being critical of you. I'm guilty of it. I can sometimes get terribly upset when people are critical of me. Because I like to think that I'm a nice guy, a decent guy, that I'm not stupid, that that I am a fine, upstanding member of the community, and that the things that I do are valid and worthwhile. But from time to time, people will be critical of me because I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. Sometimes I'm lazy. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I do stupid stuff. And it is easy to, when people point that out, to be incredibly hurt by it and to feel that it's unfair or that it's unjustified. But often and it's been said by a lot of other people, is that when people offer criticism to you, it's actually a reflection of their own state of mind. It's a reflection of their own insecurities, not so much an attack on you. And I think that's
they're pumping themselves up by pushing you down.
Because they are insecure, because they are unhappy, because they maybe lack confidence, or they have their own esteem issues, self-esteem issues, or whatever it may be, that drives them to be critical of other people, to be critical of you. And so that criticism isn't an attack on you, it's a reflection of their own insecurity, their own inner state. And so a better response, somebody's critical of me, a much better response is not for me to be hurt and to think, oh, how unfair, it's unjustified, how could they say that to me, is to, in the first instance, accept it. Because it's been said. They've said it, I can't change it, it's happened. In the first instance, accept it. And then to just consider that it's actually a reflection of their own turmoil. Not to feel sorry for them, not to pity them, not to say that, not to just go, oh, you're only saying that because you're a, you're a so-and-so, you're lacking confidence. But just to accept that criticism isn't an attack on you. There are always circumstances that have led to that person behaving in that way, in that moment. Circumstances that we may not understand, that we may have no knowledge of. And so, for us to feel hurt by those, for us to take offence, for us to make a judgment about that person because they're critical, is, in some instances, unfair. It's not easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Because we as human beings place an awful amount of importance on our own beliefs and our own activities. And we almost treasure them. And so for them to be criticised, for them to be undermined, feels like a very personal attack. It feels like a betrayal. It can feel as if our worth as a human being is being questioned. But it's not. It's not at all. It's just one person in that moment making a judgment And all it is a judgment. All it is an idea, something, an idea in their head that they've vocalised or written down. An idea, as we know, ideas are not real things. They are just momentary signals in the brain, chemical, electrical impulses in the brain. They're not real things.
One of the things I get really critical about are when I'm eating around other people and their table manners are atrocious. I very seldom say anything to these people, but I'm very critical inside. I might mention it to other people like, oh, did you see the way they eat? They've got food all over their face. They're an adult for crying out loud. Where's their manners?
I suppose that's the fourth kind of criticism, isn't it? I did think about that briefly, whether there was a fourth kind, whether that internalised criticism that doesn't get expressed.
Yeah.
Whether that sits inside, and I suppose it does. Because it is easy for us, because we have that constant dialogue going on in here, that constant stream of thought.
If I could turn it off.
Well, yeah, there's that constant stream.
If something disgusts you that much,
Thought.
I think you're entitled to be critical, aren't you?
I think, that's the thing. You are entitled to have that dialogue, and for that dialogue to contain whatever it contains. The thoughts and ideas that come into your head. You have the right to have those thoughts. you do. And it's only when they are acted upon that it becomes something different.
Yeah, if you express them.
If for example, this is something that I've said before. I could walk down the street. I could walk past a car and see a handbag on the front seat of the car, and I could think in my, the little dialogue going on in my head could go, ooh, I could pick up that half a brick down there, I could smash that window and I could steal that bag. There might be money inside. I could go and buy myself a new pair of jeans to replace the pair I've got. I could have that thought. Just because I have that thought doesn't make me a thief.
Yeah.
Doesn't make me a criminal. It's only if I actually act upon that do I become, a thief or a bad person. Similarly, I could see the old lady at the end of the road who's looking to cross, and I could think, oh no, she needs help. When I get down there, I'll help her cross the road. But when I get there, she might have already made it across. So I never acted upon that thought. It doesn't make me, it was a good thought to have. It was a very conscientious, well-meaning thought.
We help her across the road and realise that she didn't want to be the other side.
Exactly. She was just stood there admiring the architecture.
And now she's peed off because she's the other side of the road.
But in either instance, whether it's seeing the bag and not stealing it, or seeing the old lady and not getting the opportunity to carry out my good intentions, neither one of those scenarios actually changes anything about me. Just because I thought, I could steal that bag, doesn't make me a bad person. Just because I thought, I could help that old lady across the road, doesn't make me a better person. Because in both instances, I didn't act upon it. It was just, all it was thoughts going on in that dialogue. And in both scenarios, I didn't act upon it. And the same
you the old lady to break the window.
Well, I could have done. And then thrown her across the road.
So I'm wondering if I've criticised my daughter, because sometimes she comes up to me and she's like, do you like my music that I listen to? And straight away I just say, no, it's crap. And she's like, oh, thanks. So...
But there's a different... Well, then, I suppose bringing the mindful aspect to it, which we need to do because this is mindfulness group. I've already hinted at it in terms of accepting. When people say something to us, the first thing to do is to just accept it. That's all we can do,
Yeah.
first of all. But in terms of mindfulness, you're entitled to an opinion. In the same way as you're entitled to have the thoughts that go through your head. You're entitled to have an opinion about music.
Like as soon as she puts music on, get out.
How you act upon that is differently. You know, if she says to you, "Oh, do you like this?" and you say, "Well, no, not really," that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. You're allowed to. You were asked as well. She asked for your opinion, and you are responding to her question. You know, if she puts something on, and your response is to march into her room and say, "Turn that crap off," and rip the plug out the wall, that's a different.
Yeah.
That's a different. Again, it's coming down to turning what's going on in here into an action.
I mean, I've had exhibitions and people would come up to me and go, "That's a load of crap." Never bothered me.
No, because
I was just glad I had a reaction.
Yeah.
Well, your work, you mean?
Yeah, my artwork. Yeah, I was glad I got a reaction. I didn't care if it was good or bad.
But that's, you know, bringing it. Art's a great subject in that respect because there's lots of different elements to it. Because I studied art, I did fine art. And when I was at college, it was all about the justification. It didn't matter what you'd created. It didn't matter whether the actual thing you'd made was any good. It was how you justified it, how you spoke about it. And so the ideas behind it and the justification behind it was for the lecturers, the tutors that taught us, more important. And I don't agree with that. You know, I think
Got to have an element of skill in it, really.
there has to be. I think there has to be a slight element of craft to it. But it's about creating something that is interesting, and and makes people think. And if the response is to go, "Actually, I don't like that," fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's fair enough. I mean, one of the
bothered me if people didn't like it.
No, but that's it. Everybody's
It
entitled.
bothered me if the tutors didn't like my work at college, but I did fail art and then I had a career after.
There's two paintings which I do like, which is the Mona Lisa, and the other one is like it's all a bunch of sunflowers in a harvest.
Van Gogh. Van Gogh.
But there was
I don't like the Mona Lisa. I think it's boring.
but it's tiny as well. It's only a tiny little paint. But there's a very famous piece of art from the was it the 60s or the 70s? I'm not sure. A guy called Carl Andre, and it's bricks. It's 200 bricks arranged in a rectangle. Any old bricks that you could get from Jewson's or wherever. I think they're fire bricks, just laid, and that was it. But in terms of that being a great piece of art, it was a great piece of art because it was featured in the Sun. You know, front page of the Sun. Look at this load of old drivel that's being pushed on us as being this fine work of art. What do you think? And so all of a sudden, you've then got sun readers, you know, builders in their van, talking about art, talking about whether that constitutes art.
The reaction was the art, I think.
Yeah,
more
exactly.
than the piece.
Exactly.
Conceptual.
That's the thing. In that respect, it is a conceptual piece because it is. Yeah, you look at it and it looks, you know, it's not unappealing to look at because it's, you know, there's the form to it and the solidity and the symmetry, blah blah blah. But more importantly, it got people talking about it, talking about what art was to them, what their, you know, these are men that probably never even gave a second thought to art. All of a sudden, talking about it. So all of a sudden, looking at the world differently. All of a sudden, they're on a building site and they go, "Look at that! It's a piece of art." Which, you know, and it's making them think. It's making them question their own understanding, their own what appeals to them as art, and all that kind of thing. And that's important. That's important. Because everybody's entitled to an opinion. Everybody's entitled to an opinion about what they like, what they think is art, whether that's music, whether that's sculpture, whether it's painting, it's literature, poetry, whatever. But of course, all of those things that are created, they start off as an idea, and then there's that element of acting upon it. Act upon the idea, and then it becomes something else. And the same is true of criticism. You have the idea, you can have a critical idea, you can sit there and think, oh my God, that person is chewing so loudly, it's making my blood boil.
It's when they spit the food across the table at you, it's the worst.
That's it. But then it's, then you take the next step and you act upon that. You act, then it becomes something else. And that's where the mindfulness comes in. That's where you have a moment of being mindful and stop and decide what the most appropriate response is. Do I comment? Do I say something? Do I sandwich this piece of constructive criticism appropriately and say, this food's very nice, isn't it? Maybe you shouldn't be spitting it across the table at me. Oh, but I am very much looking forward to dessert. There's
Well, so you can have my meal, you spat all over it.
Yeah.
If I've accidentally done it and somebody says to me, you spat food, it's like, oh, sorry. Because I don't want people thinking bad of me that I'm not very good eater.
I'm too scared to say things most of the time, that's my problem. Perhaps I should have on occasion.
I didn't mind you saying that I left crumbs on you to say that.
Oh, that was only mucking around.
But that's where mindfulness...
That was done cheekily,
Mindfulness comes into it, then, doesn't it? Because you connect with in the moment, and you're more able to make a judgment as to whether it's appropriate to act. And if you're mindful and you're not questioning, if you don't go into the whole thing of questioning your motivation and your insecurities coming into play, and thinking, oh, I can't really say anything because I don't want to upset somebody, I don't know, I'm worried what people think of me. That's not being mindful. That's giving in to your own insecurities.
Turning it to self-criticism.
Yeah, that's it. And then being self-critical, which becomes internalised, and then the whole dialogue that's going off in your head goes into overdrive, and it starts going round, and then you start stewing on it for days and days afterwards. 3 days later, you're still thinking, oh, maybe I should have said something to them when they belched in my face.
Get that from my neighbour.
Knee to the groin usually helps.
Yeah, that's it. Whereas if
Swift uppercut.
be mindful, be in the moment, and if in that moment it's appropriate to just say something and act, then do so. If in that moment you decide not to, then you leave it there and forget about it, because there are more moments.
Politicians are the worst for criticism.
Oh yeah,
Really. I've been watching the politics show and listening in the...
Spin it round and put it into a plus.
Have you followed any of the American presidential candidate? It's just...
Comedy.
It's abhorrent comedy. Yeah. It's just... there's no policy. It is just don't vote for him because he's an idiot. Yeah. That's all they do. It's just it's not about vote for me because of X, Y, and Z. It's don't vote for him, and they're going don't vote for him. It's just
empty, isn't it?
It's just, it is. It's empty. It's vacuous. And then
takes up so much media and people's time and energy and money. It's ridiculous.
Who's that other guy everyone's talking about? Boris Johnson or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about him as well.
He's a buffoon though.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be funny if he was Prime Minister. It would be worth seeing just because he's a Berg. I think. Yeah, but I'm being critical.
Look at the opposition. I mean, none of them give you any confidence, do they really?
I'm 37 and my parents are the worst for criticising me at the moment.
Parents
criticise me for not being a good mum.
Parents do. Yeah. Parents do, and then we learn from them, and then when we become parents, we model the same behaviour, and we're critical of our kids in the same way that our parents were critical of us. And it's, yeah.
I'm critical of my son. He's really great academically. He's an A-star student, but at the same time, he's a bit of a bigot. But I just put it down to his age, pushing boundaries and stuff, you know.
So when I'm putting now and then, sometimes I put myself down. Is that sort of down to criticism as well?
It's you. Yes.
I do that quite often. Put myself down.
Yes, because we feel if we have any insecurities, because we feel that we are inferior in some way, or we are not as good as we should be. But the truth is, we are already as good as we need to be. We are perfect. You know, we possess everything that we need to have. You know, so it's like last week we mentioned about enlightenment, and I said, you know, are people here to be enlightened or not? And a few people said, well, yeah, I'm here to be. Were you in that camp?
I'd like to be, because I reached what I considered enlightenment years ago through the yogic meditation I did.
Well, the thing
but
is,
then it never stuck. After about a year or two, it just...
We were born enlightened.
Yeah.
When we first emerged into this world, we were as enlightened as we would ever be.
But then we got corrupted.
Because at that moment we were just being. Everything was new. All we did was experience life and absorb it, and absolutely be in the moment. Yeah, with wonderment, and we expressed emotion without any thought. You know, if we were happy, we were happy. If we were upset about something, we were upset about something. And
that's where it went wrong in my family. I feel like when I expressed sadness and worry, it was always brushed over.
Yeah,
that's where the problem started. Invalidation.
I can imagine it would do, because because then it becomes a negative thing. You're not allowed to express. The only emotion you can express are the positive ones.
Yeah.
That's what tends to happen. And it's coming back to criticism. It's a form of criticism, isn't it? It's criticising somebody's expression.
Yeah.
Don't express yourself in that way. Don't express anything negative. We don't want to hear that. We only want to hear good, positive, happy stuff. But the world's not like that. We human beings aren't like that. But we go up and we go down. And you know that. And from a young age, kids should be allowed to express the negative as well as the positive, and so that they can accept the fact that they will not always feel fab. Sometimes they will feel a bit crap, and it's okay to feel a bit crap, because we all do from time to time.
Yeah, I've always let my son know that, you know, he can express whatever he wants.
Exactly right, and that's good, and that's such a vital lesson. But
if he does, is another matter, you know.
That's it. But that, going back to that being enlightened, as when we were children, we were, because we were free to express ourselves. We were free to experience being alive in the moment. But then, as you get older, and your parents start telling you that you can't feel in a particular way, or that or our own self-consciousness comes into play, or whatever happens, the impact of culture, the impact of our friends, those that influence, all of those different things that influence us, remove that enlightenment. And then we get to an age where we suddenly think, oh, I would like to be enlightened. But actually, because we feel we never were. But the truth is, we were, but we lost it. So all you have to do is just attempt to reconnect with that, because it is always there. We always have that capacity. You know, there isn't. I mean, you said you experienced it a bit through some of that yogic meditation.
Yeah, amazing. Everything was wonderful.
Yeah.
Even washing up.
Yeah.
Even the most mundane tasks were just a joy.
And that's it. And you just at that moment you just reconnected with that same enlightenment that you would have had as an infant. But I think there's a misconception that enlightenment is like, some bolt of lightning when all of a sudden
like some epiphany.
Exactly, a moment of epiphany, and you suddenly acquire knowledge, previously unknown understanding and knowledge.
But
it wasn't previously unknown. You had it.
It came over instantly on the first time I did that meditation. I mean, they forced it on us, almost like those evangelical preachers in America do. And it was instant, but it didn't hang around for more than 2 years because just life got stressful and stuff. And
that's it. All that
stuff creeped back in. But for a couple of years, it was amazing.
We'll have to tell me more about that.
It can be dangerous, this Kundalini type meditation. You hear stories of people flipping their wig, ending up being diagnosed with this and that.
We talked about it the other week, the dangers of mindfulness, because there were people that had experienced that through practicing mindfulness. Because, and in a way, it perhaps goes back to what we were just talking about, in terms of that suppressing negative emotions and things. People will engage in mindful meditation. A lot of that negative emotion and negative thought will surface, and they don't know how to deal with it. They can't accept it, they don't know how to cope with it, they don't know how to deal with it because they've never done it previously. It's always been suppressed.
It's like letting a Coke bottle open.
That's it.
Shaking it up,
you unpop the cork on it and it all comes up. And if you've never had experience of accepting it, it can be very difficult.
I think you have to be prepared for some of these things. I don't think I should have walked right into it the way I did. I wish I knew more about it before I did, understood it. I mean, we were just complete novices and they forced these experiences on us. I mean, we were having breezes out of our hands, out the top of our head, the crown chakra. It was really far out, kind of.
How was it delivered? Because it sounds like was it led?
Yeah, there's a group of us, probably about 20 in the room. There's about 3 practitioners.
And are they leading it? Are they making suggestions?
They were leading it. We did this thing called a band down, and we work the energy up like that. We'd protect ourselves, and then you could feel them walking around you, working on you. You could just feel your hands. They wouldn't touch you, but you just feel them whisk past you and stuff.
There's real similarities with a lot of hypnotic activity. Now, I think I mentioned before about mesmerism and that moving of the hands and people going into trance.
Our eyes are closed.
There's trance elements to it, and if there's suggestion, if there's people leading it and they're making suggestion, we respond in strange ways to suggestion. You've only got to watch Saturday evening television to see that, because there's that. That's the game show back in the room.
I'll just usually bang my head against a brick wall when Saturday night telly's on.
We do. People respond. People are incredibly suggestive, and it can be dangerous. Yeah, it can be dangerous. It may be that.
I think it led to my mental health diagnosis, to be honest. The more I've looked into it, and you hear that people can go into psychotic rages. People end up, seeing psychiatrists and stuff. And if I told the psychiatrist half of my experiences from that, they would go mental illness. If I was in the East, they'd be treating me for a spiritual awakening or spiritual crisis. Over here, it's the opposite. They think, loony. But I could sit there in front of a psychiatrist, spout on about God in Christian form or maybe Islamic form. They probably wouldn't twitch an eyelid. But if I mentioned some of these things in a spiritual sense...
if you went to the doctor and said and pulled out a copy of the Bible and said, I experienced this, and there were I walked into a room and all of a sudden all these flaming tongues emerged from everybody's mouth, and I instantly was able to understand all these languages. They immediately start writing you a prescription. But that's a biblical story. That's what happened.
Well, what's what I heard and read somewhere?
There's loads of them.
If you say to a doctor you talk to God, they wouldn't blink an eyelid.
No.
But if you say God talks to you,
Yeah.
they would.
Because we were talking about hypnotherapy, wasn't we? But we wanted to sort of see if there was any dangers, and because both of us go to that talk it out route, we just didn't know if it would cause any sort of side effects, bad ones.
It depends upon the practitioner that you see. As long as they are ethical in their approach, then there shouldn't be any problems.
Because we were going to go and see Jim, weren't we? We were going to
We
make
were talking about it.
talking about it.
But I read somewhere, don't go anywhere near a hypnotist.
Oh well, yeah.
And
there
then
is
I read people saying, yeah, it's fine. So
That's the only thing, because you've got negatives and positives, and you don't know what
You
way
get
to go.
negatives and positives with everything, don't you? You have it with certain medication. If you go online and say, "Oh, should I take this tablet?" For every story that you read of somebody saying, "Oh yeah, it worked to treat," within a couple of days I felt fab. Then there's another story from somebody saying, "Don't touch this." It made, my arm dropped off, and then my eyeballs popped out of my head.
I think I'd go for something simple though. If I'm hypnotised, I'll have a simple request: is just make me happy.
Yeah,
Keep it that simple.
I think confidence would be mine.
Yeah.
But we'd have to, if we'd done it both together, we'd have to do it sort of.
We'd have to have a very similar goal.
Confidence is not an uncommon one. It's one that I help people with a lot, and there are some very simple.
Confidence.
You see, you would be safe with me because my approach is always that it's not anything that I do that makes people better. The ability to heal comes from within you. You have the resources within you.
You were just helping us access it, I suppose.
Yeah, just through visualisation or whatever, just to unlock that. For whatever reason, there is a barrier that prevents you. You're a confident person. You can sit there and you can talk. The first time I met you, you didn't know me, and yet we sat and we spoke for an hour.
Yeah.
And you spoke very, lucidly and eruditely and confidently. So you do have. That's the thing.
Confident.
You have confidence, but maybe it doesn't manifest itself all the time.
Yeah.
And so, in order for you to be more confident, it's not about I don't have to give you confidence.
No.
You wouldn't come to see me for hypnosis, and I would go right. I'm going to give you confidence, and when I, click my fingers, you will suddenly feel more confident. It's not about that. It's about it's about you knowing how that you can bring the confidence that you have already out.
So I used to be a social person. I used to love going out, going to pubs, and I used to always be the first person to go out and talk to somebody, start a conversation off. Now I won't. I'll just sit in the corner and wait for someone to talk to me first.
Yeah, but that can also be a fun, can't it? Going out there to.
Well, it can be.
But
we change.
Yeah.
I was the same. And now I suppose I've been through periods. Maybe I'm going the other way now, and I do strike up more conversations with people. But there was a period when I was like that. I would sit back and wait for people to come and talk to me. But it's that up and down. We go through cycles where sometimes we'll be more extrovert than we would be at other periods in our life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll happen. I'm sure there'll be periods when I'll maybe retreat.
Oh, I wish I was extrovert again. God, I used to be amazingly extrovert with weird fashions and things like that.
I got criticised the other day downtown. I was in, is it Pandora's Box they call it? Where he does all the skulls and stuff.
Yeah,
like
Mel,
that.
my mate Mel, yeah.
I was in there and some woman come in and she said, "Does crystals work for you?" And I went, "Well, I've only just started collecting them," so I said, "I can't really tell you, and she's like criticising me. Why'd you get them? Why'd you buy them then if they don't work? So
You get some strange people in this shop, some really offensive people. You actually drive people out of the shop at times, especially when alkies turn up there quite often.
I just love the crystals. He tells me all about them and says you get energies from some crystals. Some people believe in it, others
You
don't.
should see some of his crystals just go upstairs like that.
Glowing.
Brilliant crystals.
Nuclear.
Kryptonite.
Yeah.
Kryptonite.
Plutonium.
Oh, we watched that. We watched Superman, the original Superman. We got it for the kids.
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve.
That's so much better than the remake.
Oh, the remake was dreadful. Dreadful.
I've seen both films now. Batman vs Superman was diabolical.
I've not heard good reports about that.
No. Apparently, if you're a fan of the comics, you'll probably like it, I've heard. Ben Affleck as Batman was wrong.
The whole premise of it just sounds wrong to me. It's like they shouldn't be fighting.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
Batman?
both good guys, aren't they?
Ben Affleck.
No.
No, they should have. I prefer the Christopher Nolan's Batmans with Christian Bale. Even though I'm not a fan of Christian Bale, I thought they were awesome.
Michael Keaton was the best Batman, I think.
No,
Adam
Adam West. It was on telly earlier today.
Oh,
Batman
it's
the
so
movie
cute.
on the horror channel.
Oh, right. Oh, it's dreadful though. In a good way. It's dreadful in a good way. Anyway, right, let's breathe.
Digressing now.
Let's breathe. So close your eyes if you wish. Bring your awareness to your breath. And the only thing to be aware of is breathing in, breathing out, and then that moment of stillness before you breathe in again. And as you breathe, as you are aware of your breath, as it happens moment by moment, you're just being alive, allowing each moment to happen. By maintaining the awareness on each breath as it happens, you're able to suspend that stream of thought. Just for a period it dissolves. All there is awareness of the breath and just being alive. Allow yourself to relax into the stillness between breaths. as you feel at peace, just being aware of your breath, you can begin to take comfort from the fact that in this moment you're absolutely fine. In this moment you're just being alive. There is nothing to do, there is nothing to think. You're just being. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.